Secure here. After 3 years of late nights, sacrifices, and missed birthdays, I sat frozen in a conference room while my father-in-law, the CEO, raised his glass. I'm thrilled to announce our new regional director, my brilliant niece, Lily Monroe. Applause broke out around me like fireworks. I didn't move. 8 weeks. That's how long Lily had been with the company. 8 weeks of smiling, asking surface-level questions, and bringing nothing but her expensive MBA and well-connected family tree. Meanwhile, I'd spent 3 years growing this department from 12 to 47 employees, built the foundation she now stood on, and I was expected to clap. So I did, slowly, hollowly. My hands made a sound that felt as fake as the smile I forced onto my face. Arthur, my father-in-law, met my eyes across the table. Something flickered in his gaze. Guilt? Shame? Defiance? I couldn't tell, but he looked away. Then came the knife twist. Amy's already been such a wonderful mentor to Lily. I know she'll continue supporting our new director in every way. Support. That word curdled in my mouth. I was supposed to support the person who just took my job? Lily stood up, all blonde waves and a sleek designer suit. Her voice was bright, rehearsed. Thank you so much, Uncle Arthur. I'm excited to learn from Amy's expertise as we transition into this new phase. Transition? No. This wasn't a transition. It was a takeover. After the meeting, I walked back to my office on shaky legs. My nameplate still read, Amy Hayes, Senior Operations Manager, but it felt like a lie. Some colleagues gave me sympathetic looks. Some avoided me altogether. Margaret from accounting patted my shoulder as she passed. I'm so sorry, honey. I closed my door and sat behind the desk where I'd spent thousands of hours building something real. Above me, my 3 Employee of the Year plaques stared down like cruel jokes. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my husband, Joseph. How did the announcement go? Finally official? I stared at the message, then typed, "We'll talk tonight." The rest of the day passed in a fog. Emails, reports, meetings where I had to pretend I wasn't gutted, smile through gritted teeth, nod like everything was fine. At 5 p.m., just as I was packing up, Arthur appeared in my doorway. Amy, could I have a word? He took the same chair where 3 months ago he told me the promotion was just a formality. Now he looked diplomatic. I know today was difficult for you. Was it? I kept my tone neutral. You're incredibly valuable to this company. Lily will need someone with your experience. We'd like you to take on a senior advisory role. Translation: train her to do the job I earned. I studied him, this man I had admired for years, who had welcomed me into the family, and now who sat across from me trying to turn betrayal into opportunity. Arthur, can I ask something? Of course. 3 months ago, you said this promotion was mine. What changed? He fidgeted with his wedding ring. Business needs evolved, Lily brings fresh ideas, a new perspective. 8 weeks of perspective against 3 years of results? Amy, you're taking this too personally. I almost laughed. It's my career, my life. How else should I take it? His response was quiet, firm. She's family, and family looks out for each other. There it was. The truth. I was family, but not the kind that gets chosen. I was the kind that's expected to give, support, sacrifice. I see. I stood up and reached for my bag. Joseph's making dinner. I should get home. Arthur nodded, relieved. Give my son my love, and thank you for your understanding. Understanding? That's what betrayal is called now? By the time I pulled into the driveway, the sun was setting. Joseph's car was there. Our house looked warm, peaceful. But even that felt different now, contaminated. How was I supposed to walk inside and tell my husband that his father had destroyed my career with a toast and a smile? I sat in the car for 5 more minutes, watching neighbors water their lawns like nothing had changed. But everything had. Eventually, I walked in. Joseph had already set the table. The smell of his lasagna filled the kitchen, but I had no appetite. He took one look at me and pulled out a chair. "Sit. Tell me everything." So I did. I told him about the promotion, the speech, the smile on Arthur's face as he gave my role away. I told him how I was expected to train my replacement, how I was told I didn't need it. Joseph's jaw clenched. "He actually said that? That you were secure so you didn't need the promotion?" Word for word. He stood, furious. "I'm calling him. Right now." "No." I reached out, stopping him. "This isn't your fight. It's mine." But the damage was done. The line was drawn. Another crack in the family, this one caused by Arthur himself. I handed in my resignation the next morning, with a calm smile. "Congrats to Lily," I said. Arthur's face turned red as he read the letter. "You can't be serious." Oh, but I was. Tomorrow, they'd be down one loyal workhorse. But today, I took back my dignity. The next morning, I walked into the office with the same fake smile I'd perfected over the last 24 hours. Today, I was the gracious mentor, just like Arthur wanted. At exactly 9 a.m., Lily bounced into my office like a cheerleader reporting to duty. She held a color-coded planner, wore a high-end blazer, and carried enough enthusiasm to power the entire floor. "Amy, I'm so excited to learn from you. Uncle Arthur says you know this place better than anyone." I gestured to the chair across from my desk. "Let's start with the Morrison account, our biggest client. They've been with us since before you were born." For the next 2 hours, I took her through our client systems. Years of trial and error, delicate relationships, buried landmines I'd learned to navigate by feel. She scribbled notes like she was cramming for a final, asking questions that made it abundantly clear she had no idea what she was doing. "So, if Mr. Morrison calls angry about a delay, what should I say?" "You don't make promises you can't keep. You listen. You acknowledge. You give him a realistic timeline with a built-in buffer. And if he threatens to leave?" I paused, looking at her overly made-up face. So eager, so clueless. "Then you remember this. Morrison Industries accounts for 30% of our annual revenue. If we lose them, 47 people lose their jobs, including you." Her pen froze. By lunch, so had my patience. I was expected to transfer years of nuanced experience into someone who'd probably never opened a quarterly report. By lunch, so had my patience frozen. I was expected to transfer years of nuanced experience into someone who'd probably never opened a quarterly report. And then came the moment that changed everything. I was reheating leftover soup in the break room when I heard Arthur's voice through the wall. His office shared a wall with the kitchen, and in this old building, sound traveled. "The transition's going perfectly. Lily's picking it up fast." "Are you sure Amy's okay with all this?" That was Lily. Uncertain, tentative. I stopped stirring my soup and moved closer. "Amy's dependable, but we need fresh thinking. Lily's the future." His words hit like a slap. "She's great at maintaining the status quo, but that's not what the company needs anymore. We need innovation, energy." "But some clients specifically ask for her." Lily protested. Arthur laughed, and I felt sick. Exactly. She's become a crutch. Clients are too comfortable with her. We need someone who challenges them. Challenges them? My relationships built on trust and mutual respect were suddenly a liability? Arthur went on. Amy's feelings? She's family. She'll understand. Besides, she's not going anywhere. She's 42. Companies want young talent. We're doing her a favor by keeping her on. 42. Over the hill, apparently, and grateful just to have a seat at the table. I gripped the counter until my knuckles went white, resisting the urge to storm in and tell him exactly what I thought of his greater good. I just feel bad, Lily said quietly. She's been so nice, and I can tell she's hurting. That's because you have a good heart. But business isn't about feelings, Arthur replied. Amy's predictable. She'll do whatever we ask. She doesn't have a choice. Predictable, reliable, powerless. I left the break room with my untouched soup and a new kind of fury burning inside me. Not hot and explosive, but cold, heavy, settled deep in my bones. That afternoon, I continued training Lily with practiced professionalism. I smiled. I answered her questions. I explained account histories and client dynamics as if nothing had changed. But everything had. Each word I spoke, each insight I offered, felt like I was writing my own resume in real time, not for Arthur's benefit, but for mine. By 5 o'clock, I packed my things slowly, deliberately. I was calm, focused. Tomorrow might hold more of the same, but tonight I had work to do. That evening. The house was quiet. Joseph was working late. I sat at the kitchen table with a lukewarm cup of tea and my laptop open. The cursor blinked, waiting. And then I began to type. Dear Arthur, please accept this letter as my formal resignation from my position as Senior Operations Manager at Alden Ventures. My last day will be Friday, March 15th, in accordance with the standard 2-week notice. Thank you for the opportunities I've had over the past 3 years. I've learned a great deal, and I'm grateful for the experience. I wish the company continued success. Sincerely, Amy Hayes. Short, polite, final. I read it 3 times, each pass washing away a little more bitterness. It wasn't angry, it wasn't emotional. It was clean, dignified, done. I printed the letter, signed it with my favorite pen, slipped it in a crisp white envelope, and placed it beside my laptop. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. The next day. I dressed with purpose. Navy blue power suit, polished heels, my grandmother's pearl earrings. I wanted to remember this day, to own it. I arrived early and placed the envelope in the center of my desk. Then I carried on like normal, responding to emails, reviewing reports, fixing a spreadsheet formula for Tom in accounting. At exactly 10 o'clock, I picked up the envelope and walked to Arthur's office. His longtime assistant, Marie, smiled at me warmly. Good morning, Amy. He's just finishing up a call. No rush. I'll wait. Marie had always been kind, one of the few. I wondered if she'd miss me. Probably not. She'd seen plenty come and go. A moment later, Arthur emerged from his office mid-conversation, his phone still pressed to his ear. He waved me in without breaking stride. I sat in the chair I knew so well, the one where I had once believed I had a future. When he finally ended the call, he looked up, impatient. What can I do for you, Amy? I've got back-to-back meetings until 3. I said nothing. I simply slid the envelope across his desk. He stared at it confused. Then he looked up at me. And that's when everything began to change. What's this? Arthur looked at the envelope like it might bite him. Open it. He reached for his letter opener and sliced it open with unnecessary force. As he unfolded the paper and began reading, I watched his expression morph, curiosity giving way to confusion, then shock, and finally something close to panic. His face paled, flushed, then turned red. "You can't be serious." The words exploded out of him as he shot to his feet, sending his chair skidding backward. I stayed seated, hands folded in my lap, completely still. "I'm entirely serious." "Amy, we just promoted Lily 2 weeks ago. You can't abandon us now. She needs your guidance, your expertise, the Morrison account alone. She'll manage. She's enthusiastic. I'm sure she'll figure it out." Arthur began to pace, running both hands through his silver hair like he could shake clarity loose from his scalp. "This is about the promotion, isn't it? Look, I know you're disappointed, but we can talk. A different title, more responsibilities, a raise if that's what this is." "Arthur?" I cut him off, calm but unwavering. It was the first time I'd ever spoken to him like that, and he noticed. He froze mid-step, turned slowly toward me. "This isn't about the promotion anymore. This is about respect. And I finally realized I don't have any here." "That's not true. You're valued. Amy, your family." I rose, smoothing my skirt. My voice stayed steady. "No, I'm not. Family doesn't lie to you about their plans. Family doesn't let you train your replacement without telling you. Family doesn't describe you as predictable and reliable while speculating that you have nowhere else to go." Arthur went completely still. His complexion turned ghostly. "You heard that conversation?" Every word. Silence stretched between us. 3 years of overlooked contributions, frustrated substitutions, and unsaid truths sitting heavy in the air. Arthur slowly sank back into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 63 years. "Amy, please, let's talk this through. Whatever you think you heard." I understood perfectly. I moved toward the door. My hand touched the handle. Then I paused. "You were right about one thing, though. I was predictable. I made excuses. I convinced myself loyalty would be rewarded, but not anymore." "What do you want? More money? A corner office? Just tell me." I turned and looked him in the eye, one last time. "I want to work somewhere that values what I bring to the table. Somewhere that sees potential, not limits. Somewhere that doesn't think 42 is too old to have fresh ideas." He opened his mouth, but I was already walking away. Marie looked up as I passed her desk, concern clouding her warm smile. "Everything okay, honey?" I paused, then smiled, a real one this time. "Everything is going to be just fine. Take care of yourself, Marie." Walking back to my office, I felt lighter than I had in months. The decision was made. The words had been spoken, and there was no going back. I had 2 weeks to finish projects, document systems, and say goodbye to the chapter that taught me more about myself than I ever expected. When I sat down, the phone was already ringing. Word spreads fast in offices like this. For the first time in weeks, I didn't dread what came next. 2 weeks later, I was in my home office, reorganizing files and brushing up my resume, when the phone rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. I'm so glad I didn't. "Amy Hayes, this is Rebecca Chin from Horizon Tech. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." I nearly dropped my coffee. Horizon Tech, innovative, fast-growing, with a reputation for merit-based promotions and employee-first leadership. "Not at all," I replied, voice steady despite the adrenaline spike. "I'll get to the point. Your name came up in a conversation with Daniel Morrison yesterday. He spoke very highly of you and suggested we reach out." Daniel Morrison, the client I'd nurtured for 3 years, the man I'd wondered if I'd ever hear from again. "That's very kind of him," I managed. "We have an opening for a regional operations director, oversight of 3 departments and our top-tier clients. Daniel believes you'd be perfect for it. Would you be open to learning more?" My heart pounded. This wasn't just any job. It was the role I should have had at Alden Ventures. Only now it came with more. I'd be very interested. Within an hour, Rebecca sent me the details. My jaw dropped. 30% higher salary, stock options, a comprehensive benefits package, and the title I'd earned but never been granted. The interview process moved quickly. I met with team leads, genuine, sharp people excited to collaborate. The culture? Direct, transparent, no nepotism, no secrets. During my final interview, the CEO, Marcus Williams, asked a question I'd rehearsed for days. Why did you leave Alden Ventures? Daniel said you were there for several years. I hesitated, then told the truth. I hit a ceiling that had nothing to do with performance. Sometimes you realize loyalty without respect is just servitude. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. We don't believe in ceilings here. We believe in earned advancement and mutual respect. Does that sound like a place you could thrive? It sounds like everything I've been looking for. 3 days later, the offer came in, better than I'd even hoped. I signed the contract with a smile I hadn't worn in years. First day at Horizon Tech. Walking into Horizon felt like stepping into another universe. Bright, modern, collaborative, and not just on the surface. From day one, I was treated like an asset. Sarah Martinez, the intern ops lead, could have been defensive. Instead, she was warm, ready to work as a team. I've been looking forward to this. Rebecca told me about your background. We're struggling with the Anderson Group account. Honestly, we could really use your expertise. Expertise, not dependability. Not reliability. Expertise. That word landed differently. Within a week, I was leading strategy sessions, restructuring client communication protocols, and presenting directly to the board. Marcus sat in on one of my presentations and raised an eyebrow afterward. You've been doing this for 3 years, and your last company never promoted you to director level? Apparently, I was too predictable for leadership. He laughed. Not at me, but at the absurdity of it all. And just like that, I knew. I wasn't just in the right place. I was finally seen. Their loss is our gain, Marcus had said after the board meeting. Predictability in performance is exactly what strong leadership looks like. My first real test came fast. The Anderson Group had been on the verge of dropping Horizon Tech after months of missed deadlines and poor communication. I spent 2 days preparing, reviewing every interaction we'd had with them, pulling from years of experience and intuition. The meeting ran over 3 hours. By the time it ended, not only had we retained their business, they'd agreed to expand their contract by 40%. How did you pull that off? Sarah asked as we walked back to the office. I stopped telling them what we thought they needed, and I started listening to what they actually said. Then, I showed them exactly how we deliver it. Word spread fast. Suddenly, other department heads were reaching out for guidance. Marcus started pulling me into executive strategy sessions. After one particularly productive session, he looked at me across the table. We might have undervalued this role when we created it. Would you be open to expanded responsibilities? At Alden Ventures, expanded responsibilities meant more work without a title or pay bump. Here, it felt like opportunity with substance. By the end of my first month, I wasn't just overseeing operations, I was leading a new client retention initiative. My team grew from 12 to 18, and performance metrics were the highest they'd been in 2 years. Every morning walking into Horizon Tech, I was reminded of what it felt like to be valued for contribution rather than tolerated for consistency. My ideas were implemented, my experience wasn't just acknowledged, it was leveraged. At Alden Ventures, I'd spent years trying to prove I was worth keeping. At Horizon Tech, that question had never even come up. 3 months in, whispers started finding their way back to me. At a third-quarter industry mixer, Janet Mills from Pacific Financial approached me. Amy, heard you landed at Horizon. Good for you. Her smile was polite, but something flickered behind her words. "Things have been interesting since you left." I raised an eyebrow. "Our new contact at Alden, 3 weeks to return a phone call. That never happened with you." Before I could reply, someone pulled her away. But the comment stuck. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Daniel Morrison. "Hope you don't mind me reaching out," he said. "Wanted to give you a heads up." "Of course, what's going on?" "We're ending our relationship with Alden Ventures this quarter." I froze. Morrison Industries had been their biggest client. Losing them would be catastrophic. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said carefully. "Why?" "Remember our monthly strategy calls? The way we'd adjust based on market conditions?" "Of course." "Your replacement missed 2 in a row. When she finally called, she didn't know the basic status of our account, said she'd follow up, never did. Then we had a $2 million delivery stuck in the wrong warehouse. She told us to file a formal complaint and said she'd look into it when she had time. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. I called Arthur directly, told him our concerns. His response? If our new direction doesn't suit you, maybe we're not the right fit. I blinked, stunned. Arthur had effectively told his biggest client to walk. For what it's worth, my recommendation that Horizon hire you, best business advice I've given in years. When I hung up, I sat still for a long time. Losing Morrison would likely force Alden to lay off 15 people. People I'd worked beside, people who had nothing to do with Arthur's choices. A soft knock on my door. My assistant poked her head in. "Amy, Rebecca Chin would like to see you." Rebecca's office was covered in open reports. She gestured for me to sit. "So," she began, "I hear the Morrison account is just the beginning. 3 more former Alden clients reached out this week. All mentioned you by name." My stomach twisted. "We're not actively pursuing them," she continued, "but these are legitimate inquiries. I want to make sure we handle this ethically." I nodded. "If they're coming to us because of real service issues, then we're just meeting a need. We're not stealing business. We're offering a solution." "Good. I'd like you to lead the presentations." Over the next month, Horizon Tech signed 4 new accounts, all previously with Alden. The patterns were the same: delayed responses, missed deadlines, poor handling of issues. I found myself defending my old colleagues as much as pitching our services. "They're going through a tough transition," I'd explain diplomatically, "but if you're looking for consistency and accountability, we can offer that." The hardest moment came one quiet evening at home. My phone buzzed. Margaret from Alden's accounting department. "Amy, I hope it's okay I called. I got your number from Joseph." "Of course, what's going on?" "There are rumors about layoffs. Morrison's gone and 3 other major clients too. People are saying it's because you left, that you took all the relationships with you." I sighed. "Margaret, I'm not blaming you," she said quickly. "We all saw how they treated you. But Amy, some of us have mortgages, kids in college. If Alden goes under..." Her voice cracked. The weight of unintended consequences pressed heavy on my shoulders. I'd left to reclaim my worth, not to destroy a company. But the truth was simple. Arthur's choices had consequences, not just for him, but for everyone who trusted him to lead. "Are you looking for something else?" I asked softly. She didn't answer right away. Neither did I. At 58, who was going to hire someone like Margaret? That's what she asked, half joking, half afraid. I thought about Horizon Tech's expansion plans, the new clients, the growth, the positions we'd need to fill. "Margaret," I said, "would you be comfortable if I passed your name along to Rebecca Chin? We're going to need experienced financial leadership." The relief in her voice was immediate. "Amy, you do that? Of course. You're good at what you do. That should matter more than politics or age." After I hung up, something inside me shifted. I wasn't thinking about Alden Ventures' decline anymore. This wasn't about revenge. It was about restoration. about people finding places where their skills were appreciated and their voices heard. Some of my former colleagues would land on their feet. Some might even thrive. But one thing was becoming painfully clear across the industry. Arthur Alden's biggest failure wasn't losing talent. It was undervaluing it in the first place. 6 months after Margaret joined Horizon Tech, I received an invitation that stopped me in my tracks. Thick, embossed cardstock, formal, elegant. Arthur Alden requests the pleasure of your company at the Alden Ventures annual awards dinner. I stood in the kitchen, turning the card over in my hands, wondering what game Arthur was playing this time. Joseph walked in and read it over my shoulder. "You're not seriously considering going?" "Actually," I said quietly, "I think I am." He looked at me like I'd suggested skydiving into a thunderstorm. "Amy, why put yourself through that?" "Because I'm not the same woman who left that building in tears. I want to see who I'd become." The dinner was held at the Grand Ballroom downtown, the same venue I'd attended 3 years in a row. But this time, everything felt different. I wore an emerald green silk dress that hugged confidence to my skin. But more than that, I carried myself like someone who no longer needed to be noticed to feel worthy. Rebecca insisted on coming with me. Moral support, she said, though I knew curiosity played a role. Cocktail hour was predictably awkward. Old colleagues approached with cautious smiles. Some seemed genuinely happy. Others looked uncomfortable, as if my success highlighted their own decision to stay behind. Tom from accounting found me near the bar. "Amy, we all miss you. It's not the same without you. How's everyone adjusting?" I asked, keeping it diplomatic. "Margaret's doing great at Horizon. Honestly, her move inspired some of us to start looking around too. Sometimes you don't realize you're settling until you see someone else refuse to." Before I could answer, the lights dimmed. Arthur stepped onto the stage. He looked older, tired, like someone trying too hard to appear in control. "Welcome to what has been a challenging but educational year at Alden Ventures. We've learned lessons about adaptation, leadership, and recognizing talent wherever it may be found." His gaze swept the room and landed on me. For a moment, neither of us looked away. "Tonight," he continued, "we honor employees who stepped up when it mattered most." The awards rolled on. Sales, innovation, customer service, but something about it all felt hollow, like Arthur was trying to recapture a magic that had already left the building. Then came the surprise. "Our final award tonight is new," he said, his voice taking on a rehearsed solemnity. "The Excellence in Leadership Award goes to someone who may no longer work here, but whose influence still shapes how we do business." My stomach flipped. "Amy Hayes, would you please come to the stage?" Applause erupted, but I stayed frozen. Rebecca nudged me. "Go on, this is your moment." Walking to that stage felt like wading through history. Arthur met me halfway, offering a crystal award that shimmered beneath the lights. "Amy," he said, "your commitment to excellence and your dedication to our clients set a standard we still aspire to. While we're sorry to see you move on, we recognize the foundation you helped build here." I took the microphone, looked out at familiar faces. Some smiled, others stared blankly, and one, Lily, seated beside Arthur, looked mortified. "Thank you," I began, voice calm but clear. "Working at Alden Ventures taught me valuable lessons about business, about relationships, and most importantly, about knowing your own worth." A pause. Then, "Loyalty matters, but it should never be one-sided. Hard work only means something when it's recognized. And sometimes the best thing you can do, for your growth, for your sanity, is walk away from places that no longer see your value." The applause was quieter this time, uneven, but I kept going. "I'm grateful for my time here, because it led me to where I am now, at a company where merit matters more than politics, where voices are heard, where ceilings are shattered, not enforced." I handed Arthur the microphone. His smile had grown strained. Thank you again for the recognition. And to my former colleagues, remember, you have more power than you think. Use it wisely. Silence. Then Margaret began clapping. Tom followed. Others joined in. Not everyone, but enough. Afterwards, as Rebecca and I gathered our things, Arthur approached our table. Amy, could I have a word? Rebecca excused herself. For the first time since my resignation, Arthur and I stood alone. That was quite a speech, he said. It was honest. I suppose I deserved that. He looked worn, fragile, like a man forced to reckon with his legacy. We're restructuring. If you ever wanted to come back, Amy, stop. I met his eyes, steady. 6 months ago, maybe I would have wanted to prove something to you. But tonight, I realized I don't need to prove anything. Not to you, not to anyone. He looked down. The company is struggling without you. No, I said quietly. The company is struggling because you made decisions based on loyalty, not leadership. That's not my problem anymore. I picked up my purse, and the award, surprisingly heavy in my hands. I hope Olden Ventures finds its footing, truly, but my chapter here is closed. Walking out of that ballroom, I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. The woman who once cried in a corner office was gone. In her place stood someone who knew her worth and no longer asked permission to believe in it. Rebecca linked her arm through mine as we crossed the parking garage. So, she asked with a smile, how does it feel to have the last word? I smiled, for real this time. Like freedom. The drive home was quiet, peaceful. When I walked through the door, Joseph was waiting with a warm cup of tea. How was it? Perfect, I said, and meant it. Absolutely perfect. That night, I placed the Crystal Award on the bookshelf right beside a photo from my first day at Horizon Tech. 2 symbols from the same journey. One showed where I had been, the other who I had become. The woman in that photo stood tall, respected, unafraid to take up space.